Good morning and welcome to our Investor Forum. This is the Caribbean Climate-Smart Accelerator's 7th Investor Forum, Cultivating Climate-Smart Futures. I'm your host, Cheryl Steinhaus, and I'm the Finance Innovation Director with the CCSA. Today's event is the 7th in our series, as I mentioned, and is brought to you in collaboration with the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the Qatar Fund for Development, and the Global Green Growth Institute. Thank you for joining us for this webinar here on Zoom and for the live stream of this event on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and on YouTube. We encourage your participation and engagement throughout the session, but here's a quick reminder of our audience participation guidelines. Please introduce yourself in the chat only once, and you may go ahead and include your social media and website links. Please pose all questions to speakers and panelists in the Q&A section, and we will have some time towards the end of the session to address these questions. Be courteous in the chat, and please go ahead and share the webinar link with your colleagues and friends. To connect with our speakers, please stay on until the end of the event for the display of contact information. Here at the Accelerator, we work across our coalition of 29 countries throughout the Caribbean and South America to achieve our objective of creating the world's first climate-smart zone within the region by collaborating, convening, and matchmaking to accelerate the pace of climate action. Throughout our Investor Forum series of matchmaking events, we deliver on our mandate by bringing leaders of climate-smart projects with our panel of investors with the aim of establishing and leveraging relationships further facilitate investment activity. This is the seventh iteration of our Investor Forum. And throughout this year, we have refined the focus of the Investor Forum events to better address the needs of our project developers from the region. We have leveraged our extensive network of partners to bring you our second event in collaboration with international partners who have demonstrated a vested interest in advancing climate action in the region through flexible and innovative investment and project development support initiatives. Once again, we acknowledge our partners for this event, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the Qatar Fund for Development, and the Global Green Growth Institute, represented today by Dr. Kristen Deason, GGGI's lead representative for the Caribbean. In response to the emergent need for early stage support, project preparation and development, incubation and advisory support, we continue to seek out and showcase partners who can assist project owners with closing the gap between project idea and project implementation for impact and investability. We continue our feature of project preparation partners, and once again, provide opportunities for project developers to be more active participants in the conversation by pitching their projects to potential investors. Through our agenda this morning, we bring together these refinements to the delivery of our Investor Forum series to showcase actions to sustainably leverage and protect our natural resources across the region through innovations in industry, conservation, and finance. We start with our project preparation facility feature, Caribbean Climate Innovation Center, who will be represented today by Carlington Burrell, Chief Executive Officer. This will be followed by our Investor Roundtable, which features a diverse group of international investors. That session will be moderated by our CEO, Raquel Moses, and we'll have representatives from the Global Green Growth Institute, Dr. Kristen Deason, lead representative for the Caribbean, Circulate Capital, represented by Cesar Vergara, Investment Director, the Development Bank of Latin America, or CAP, Alicia Montalvo, Climate Action and Positive Biodiversity Manager, and Ozolo Ventures, Cassandra Vickers, Associate. In the second half of our agenda, we move into our solutions for cultivating climate-smart futures under the broad umbrella of nature-based solutions. These will be presented in two segments. First, we'll have a projects presentation by our Director of Public Sector Projects, Isha Farnham, who will deliver an overview of projects. And we'll then have project pitches, where we hear directly from 9 project owners on how their projects address needs and how funding will support the delivery of impact. Towards the end of our session this morning, we'll have a few minutes available for audience participation before moving into closing remarks from our CEO. Thank you once again to everyone who's joining us across all of our platforms. And as I said, we welcome your engagement throughout the event. Let me introduce now our first session, which is a feature presentation from Mr. Carlington Burrell of the Caribbean Climate-Innovation Center. Carlington is a climate innovation expert and business development lead in the Caribbean who's working on with several government entities, private sector, and quasi-government institutions, establishing programs while building capacity in the region for greater sustainability. As CEO of the Caribbean Climate Innovation Center, he has been supporting the development of and enabling the ecosystem to foster innovative and growth-oriented enterprises while helping them to raise necessary capital for their business ventures. Mr. Carlington Burrell, welcome you.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. It is truly a pleasure to be here this morning to my presentation and to, of course, meet you all to answer all your questions that you may have. And I'm going to go right into the presentation. Thanks again. I'm going to share my screen. Morning again. So this morning, my presentation will be on the Caribbean climate. It's our tagline there. How we got started. The Caribbean Climate Innovation Center was established in February 2014 under the World Bank's Entrepreneurship Program for Innovation in the Caribbean, EPIC. It was part of the Bank's Climate Technology Program, CTP. The center was implemented by a consortium which included the Scientific Research Council that is based here in Jamaica and the Caribbean Industrial Research Institute that is based in Trinidad and Tobago. It was originally funded by the government of Canada for 4 years. Since then, the CCSA has been registered as a legal entity in Jamaica, serving 14 CARICOM market countries, and we're now responsible for our own funding and sustainability. About CCSA. CCSA is the first and only clean tech incubator in the Caribbean, serving 15 CARICOM market countries. We are the first network in the Caribbean to connect incubators and entrepreneurs in the climate technology space. We help to maximize the opportunities for impact from the virtual hubs and their technologies and companies they support to create clean tech market linkages. Our hubs is absolutely critical to our sustainability. And because of that, every 5 years, we tend to have a train the trainer workshop where all of our hubs are trained on our programs so that those programs can be delivered within the respective Highland hubs. Our goals are pretty much fostering entrepreneurial growth and development, drive innovation and creativity in the region, reducing waste for a cleaner environment, energy security and clean energy production, cutting carbon emission, and last but surely not the least, create jobs. Our objective at the CCSA is to stimulate the development through the implementation of climate change adaptation solutions by climate solution seekers working together on diverse complexity areas. To establish long-term partnerships that will exist beyond the nominal term of the project and build capacity to tackle ongoing climate change issues. Now, this one is absolutely critical for us, and believe me, some of our entrepreneurs that we have served about 7 to 6 years ago are now some of our strongest partners in the region. To build leadership in the research community around climate change solution in key thematic areas. We did identify some challenges and gaps in which we needed to ensure that those gaps are filled or narrowed. And some of those include lack of collaboration among specialist groups. And we have seen great improvements all around this in the Caribbean, not just with us at the CCIC, but generally across different sectors. Inadequate support provided to promote and facilitate innovations needed to catalyze climate change adaptation sustenance. And again, we have seen great improvement with this. We have seen significant growth and work, especially with the Caribbean Development Bank and the IDB Lab and a few other entities that really serves in the Caribbean region. Developing effective solutions to complex climate issues may require integration of work across multiple disciplines and involve partnership between people, organizations that extend well beyond the normal academic linkages. Insufficient resources tender to climate change mitigation efforts. And again, I must highlight that we have seen significant improvement in these gaps. Some of our offerings here at the Caribbean Climate Innovation Center, we do offer business incubations, mentorship and training, technology commercialization, market development, business acceleration, access to finance, consultancy services, business boot camps, and capacity building. Over the years, since 2014, we have supported over 2,000 plus entrepreneurs across the 15 CARICOM market countries. We have about 58% market entries for those that have had deeper, that we have greater involvement with. We have a partnership with Micromentor. We have about 33 mentor with this organization. We have over 100 mentors across 17 different countries in 3 different continents. Previously we have had proof of concept where we have 11 different winners from 5 countries in the region. And so far we have disbursed over US $1.5 million in grant funding. Additionally, we have supported in details 102 women programs in 15 countries. CCSA was a part of a wider network of innovation centers. Initially, it was established in Kenya as the first, and the Caribbean Climate Innovation Center was the second such entity was to be established back in 2014. So far, the CCIC and Kenya Innovation Center are 2 of the most vibrant innovation centers globally. It's very important that we highlight where we started and the cohort that we started with. On screen, we have Yakini Wallen Bryan, Daniel Flores, and Bevan King. The very first 3 set of entrepreneurs that we had in our accelerator program back in 2014. On screen, we have Ansa Bagwandeen from Protofab TT. Ansa Bagwandeen uses design a portable, inexpensive device that regenerates acid-lead batteries, thereby extending their life. Again, one of our earlier entrepreneurs and still one of our very innovative entrepreneurs in our program to date. And we identify some of the programs later on in this presentation. We have pre-labs, Yakini Wallen Bryan, which developed supporting and building smart homes with his pre-lab device. We have Joshua Fort from Barbados with his red diamond composed using seaweed that has been, of course, plaguing the Caribbean islands and have impacting tourism negatively over the last couple of years. We have Joshua Fort in Barbados that has been using this product to build out his company. Fast forward in 2023, we have Tony and Williams of Mosa Estate who develop an agri-tech solution, agro-processing company that is geared towards health, wellness, and sustainability. We have Dr. Della Henze from Della Henze Essentials, product now based in Toronto, has been exporting our produce since the last 2 years. She was supported in our DBJ Ignite program. Again, another program which I will highlight as we go along in the presentation. Patrice Johnson, one of our entrepreneurs, we use to diversify our portfolio. We've developed a game that she has been exporting in the diaspora and Caribbean over the last 2 years. Tracy and Hyman, who has been using our company, Artel, that uses AI to offer data-driven decision-making technologies for disaster planners, engineers, developers, telecommunication providers, and insurance company. Damani Thomas, that has excelled in our climate launchpad program, reaching the finals in Netherlands last year, developed a formula which is called the Defossilized 30 that helped to help refiners decarbonize and improve operational efficiency. And then Kuma Fong, using his product Vector One, is a company's flagship product and is the world's first patent-pending vehicular carbon capture system, which can simply be attached to the tailpipe of vehicles. So we have some very innovative entrepreneurs that we have been supporting over the years. Some of the programs I want to deep dive into is the Climate Launchpad program. We have partnered with the Climate Kick for the last 5 years, the Caribbean Development Bank and the IDB Lab in executing this program across 5 countries in the Caribbean. In Jamaica, the Climate Launchpad program is a feeder program to the Development Bank of Jamaica Ignite program. The DBJ Ignite program provides in excess of $30 million to entrepreneurs in CCSA for the last 3 years. We are currently now in Ignite 4, where we have 11 entrepreneurs being supported. Ideas in early stage will typically awarded about $3 million for their ideas. And those are bankable ideas, of course, within the climate technology space. And for commercialized ideas, they would normally awarded 7 million Jamaican dollars for their program. And these are grant funds to these entrepreneurs. This program is also executed in Trinidad and Tobago through our hub partners there, Dr. Geoff Lobon and Alicia Charles, through their company, which is BCS, Business Concept Solutions. In Barbados, we partner with Dr. Marcia Brandon through a company, COESL, Caribbean Center of Excellence for Sustainable Livelihood. And we typically have these programs annually. These entrepreneurs usually go on to compete in regional finals and global grand finals. Additionally, there's a third component to this program where they would be going to an accelerator program for 6 weeks to build out their product and to prove their solution. In St. Lucia, we partner with AGIT, Alliance for Green Growth and Technology, in St. Lucia. And in Suriname, we partner with the Ministry of Trade and Invest, and specifically through Ixon Tsunamin. We have not just provided entrepreneurial support and programs. We have also diversified our portfolio, where we've actually built systems. In 2018, we built a learning management system in partnership with the Royal Bank and the Caribbean Development Bank. The system was then handed over to the Caribbean Development Bank, where it was further rolled out and shared with other entities. For the last 3 years, we are partnered with the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB Lab, Resurgence, the local Met Office, and the University of West Indies, where we did a full detailed analysis, and we delivered the Caribbean's first local weather app. And this one is the Jamaica weather app. And this is a program that we're looking forward to extending across the other Caribbean countries. On screen, we have the head of the Jamaica Met Service demonstrating the weather app here that was launched last month at the AC Hotel. And we have Minister in attendance supporting this program. Of course, we continue to evolve. And some of the factors that is critical to us evolving which include the Institute best practices, learn and implement new trends in business incubation and acceleration, corporate and government buy-in, foster knowledge exchange, create linkages in ecosystem players, and drive and foster innovation. We use a very simple model to support entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs tend to focus always on the end product. That's always, needed to refine the process. And so to do that, we help them to understand why they're doing what they're doing. And if they can know why they're doing what they're doing, simple, it's a motivation factor. If they can identify the motivation factor, then it's easy to define the process. And if we can define the right process, it's easy to refine the end product. And so there's a great saying by Seth Godin: no organization ever creates an innovation. People innovate, not companies. And so we continue to support entrepreneurs across the Caribbean. These are some of our partners that has really helped us to be sustainable over the years: the Scientific Research Council, IDB, Climate Launchpad, the Caribbean Development Bank of Jamaica, University of the West Indies, Royal Bank, and the Government of Canada. Thank you all for listening and for attending this presentation. I look forward to your comments and questions. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you so much, Carlington.
My pleasure.
So next up, we have our investor panel. And I will invite our investors to come on screen at this stage. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties, so I'm taking over moderation of this panel until or unless Raquel returns. So let me once again welcome our panelists, Dr. Kristen Thiessen from GGGI, Cassandra Vickers from Azola Ventures, Cesar Vergara from Circulate Capital, and Alicia Montalvo from CAF, the Development Bank of Latin America. So to get started, I'm going to ask each of you to just give us a brief overview of your organization, your investment focus, and what your specific interest and focus is within the region. And I'll ask Dr. Kristen Thiessen to kick off talking about GGGI and their specific initiative with the OECS and Qatar Development Fund.
Great, thank you, Cheryl. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we're hearing you clearly.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to participate in this event, which we've been running jointly. GGGI, I think, is a little bit different than some of the other organizations that are represented on this panel. We obviously are not really an investor, but we are acting as an investor in some cases in some of the programs that we're running now. So I can tell you a little bit about that. If you're not familiar with GGGI as an organization, we are the Global Green Growth Institute. We are headquartered in Seoul, Korea, and we are an international intergovernmental organization dedicated to working with our partners to promote a model of economic growth that is environmentally sustainable and socially inclusive. So we are a membership organization, and our members are individual countries, with the exception of one member, which is a regional body, which is OECS, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. So our model is normally that we have staff embedded in our partner governments or our partner organizations, in the case of OECS, and we work together with those partners to promote policies that promote green growth, as well as to stimulate mobilization of investment into these countries. So we mostly do that on the public sector side, but we also have some work with the private sector, which was started a number of years ago. We originally had a global greenpreneurs program, we called it, that was open to entrepreneurs from anywhere in the world that were working on businesses or business ideas that had an impact on the environment, on climate change, or improving social inclusion. That program was very successful, and we have since spun it off to a number of different country and regional programs that have the same focus. So here in the Caribbean, we have what's called the Eastern Caribbean Green Entrepreneurship Program, which many of you have heard of, and we have a number of entrepreneurs that are part of our program who will be presenting their businesses later today. So this is a 3-year project that is actually ending at the end of this year. So it's coming to a close soon, but we're hoping that we will have a follow-on program. There's 3 components to the program. The first was an incubator program that was targeted at early stage businesses and really focused on training. So we had a 12-week intensive training program that also included mentorship and coaching component, and then culminated in a business plan competition at the end. And again, I mentioned this briefly at the beginning, but I should emphasize our work in the Caribbean is focused specifically on the OECS countries, so the member states of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. And this program in particular has been implemented in the 6 independent OECS countries. So that's St. Lucia, St. Kitts, St. Vincent, Grenada, Dominica, and Antigua and Barbuda. So again, the first component of that program was this incubator program. We also have an accelerator program that's focused on the more growth stage businesses and also includes a no interest loan facility for no interest loans up to US $50,000, and then a component supporting the entrepreneurship ecosystem where we're working with business support organizations in the region, training them on making sure they have knowledge of green businesses specifically. Obviously, they have a lot of experience in supporting businesses in general, but really trying to emphasize this aspect of green businesses that are contributing to helping solve the environmental and climate change challenges that the region is facing. So I don't want to go too long, so I can stop there. I'll just say briefly, because I know you asked us to talk about investment opportunities for businesses. Again, with our accelerator program, we had 2 calls for proposals under that program. The second one closed last month, and we're in the process of evaluating those applications. So we don't currently have opportunities for businesses to apply, but we hope that we'll be able to do that again in the future.
Thank you for that, Kristen. And you know, your program is a very good example of programs that are very deeply embedded within the region and are actually, you know, working within the communities and within the countries that you're trying to fund to be able to deliver funding and support. But I did mention that our panel is very much an international panel. So I'll turn then to Cesar to represent Circulate Capital and tell us about what you are doing. I know you represent the South American perspective as investment director for an international organization. So tell us about your approach for working within the Caribbean and LATAM region as a potential investor and provider of capital, and how you go about connecting with projects to be able to deliver financial support.
Sure. Thanks, Cheryl, and thanks for inviting us to this panel. So let me begin by explaining a little bit what Circulate Capital does and how we're applying everything in Latin America and the Caribbean. So Circulate Capital started in 2018, 2019 in Southeast Asia, and we are focused on investing in companies within the circular economy of plastics. We're focused mostly on plastics. And why did we do this? So in 2018, China closed its borders to waste plastics or plastics that many countries were exporting there to be processed. And that caused a huge crisis in many places in the world. And so we saw that the need to support this sector that has been relegated for many, many years, and few people look at it. At the end, it's not a very sexy sector. We're working with waste, but it's essential for a sustainable climate and a sustainable agenda. So this started in Southeast Asia. The fund is based out of Singapore. In Southeast Asia, we have already invested in 14 companies, over $80 million. We have invested in those companies. We invest in companies at growth stage. So as the Asian part of the fund started to gain traction and you know, accumulate successes, our investors that are huge consumer brands said, okay, where's next? And unfortunately, Latin America and the Caribbean has the second place on the region that sends more plastic to the ocean. So we have that not nice second place. So that was the reason we started working in Latin America. So the fund that we just launched in May of this year will tend to any investment from Mexico all the way down to Argentina, including the Caribbean, Central America, so pretty much the whole region. And what we're looking for companies within, as I mentioned, the circular economy of plastics. That means all the way from collection to processing. It can be segregation, I don't know, doing something else, doing artwork. You know, there are many things that you can do with plastics. So we're looking at that, and we're looking at companies that are in a growth stage. So companies that already have some experience and have some traction, and we can come with not only our capital, but with our knowledge that we have from working in Southeast Asia, and also with the support from our investors. So in Latin America, our investors are Danone, are Mondelez, are Unilever, Dow Chemical, Chevron Phillips, and our anchor investor was the IDB. So we also have their support to help these companies, I don't know, get some contracts, with whatever we can do along with them to support them. We also do that on top of capital that we provide. So that's what we are looking at in the region. I'm focused on the Caribbean, Central America, and Mexico for these investments. I have other teammates that look at South America. And what we see for the Caribbean, so I have been working in the Caribbean for the past couple of years. We have been doing some acceleration programs to get to know the sector. We are currently doing our 4th one in the Caribbean. The 5th one, hopefully we'll do it before the end of the year. And with the acceleration programs, what we're looking at is 2 things. So first of all, you know, provide some capacity development for the entrepreneurs in this sector. That, as I said, it is a sector that few people really understand, and you know, it is a little complex, and it has in the Caribbean has additional complexities compared to other places in the world. So we want to support them on that side, and we also want to pinpoint them and locate them, because many times they're, you know, somewhere behind, like a little hidden. So with this, we're trying to pull them out and for them to show that they exist and that we can help them. So that's pretty much what we're looking. We're looking for opportunities here to help this sector. Right now, we're looking into 2 opportunities. One is in the Dominican Republic. They are collecting right now, I think it's 1,000 tons of plastics per month, and that's great. That's a huge amount for the Caribbean, and we're looking at supporting them to fourfold this amount. And the other part that we really like about them is that they're doing this by providing support and equipment and knowledge to small aggregators. So they go to different small towns in the island, and they provide the equipment, the knowledge, everything, and then they just buy the materials from them. So this is a kind of like a cascade of knowledge and capital that is going down to the lowest tiers of the society, and that's, you know, helping them to improve their lifestyles and also get rid of the waste that ends up in our oceans. And then there's another opportunity that we're looking at in Trinidad and Tobago for recycling PET bottles in bottles to bottle. But this is a quite complex process. It is not that easy, but some of these investments take a little time. Hopefully, we'll be able to do this in the upcoming years.
Great, thank you for that, Cesar. And certainly hearing that perspective of support coming out of Central America, it really is important as we try to kind of leverage some of those same types of solutions within the region. So it's great to hear that you are expanding in the Caribbean region, providing that depth and breadth of support for initiatives, even past growth stages you initially identified. So Alicia, I will come to you as we started on Central and Latin America. And I know as the Development Bank for Latin America, you are as well very much supportive of the Caribbean region, from infrastructure to circular economy. I know CAP is a large-scale supporter of Caribbean development. So I'd love to hear from you, Alicia, on what you're doing specifically with nature-based solutions, how you are delivering support across the region.
Thank you very much, Cheryl, and good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here representing CAF. Well, I will very briefly describe what CAF is. As you know,
Sure.
We are a development bank. We were born 53 years ago. And we, at the beginning, only 6 countries were part of CAF, but now there are 21 countries. Recently, 2 more countries have been part of CAF. It is important to stress that we are increasing our shareholders now and working very much with the Caribbean countries. Now, only Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago are part of CAF, but we are in very advanced conversations with other Caribbean countries that could be part of CAF. And this is very, very important for us as our agenda is very much focused on becoming the green bank for Latin America and the Caribbean, and also to work in an inclusive growth, which is also sustainable. Now, it's important that we have made a commitment to devote 40% of our portfolio to green investment. This will be reached in 2026. Now we are around 25%, and this means that we will increase our investment in energy transition, mobility, but above all the questions related with nature-based solutions, as you have stressed. This means working in blue economy, working in regenerative tourism, and trying to really be a part of the solution of the problems of the impact of climate change, specifically in the Caribbean. We all know that the Caribbean countries are very vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, and so that's why we are focusing very much our agenda in the region in adaptation and in nature-based solutions that are both to really reduce the impact of climate change, but also increasing the opportunities for work. I would like to stress that we now our portfolio is around 13 billion per year. So this means that 40% will be around. We have calculated that we will devote in the coming 4 years up to 25 billion to green projects. We work very much with the green funds. We are very active with the adaptation fund. We have now some projects in the Caribbean region. Specifically, we have one in Trinidad and Tobago, which is very much focused in adaptation and restoration of the Oropucha River. And we also work very much with the Global Environmental Facility in projects that have very much to do with biodiversity. Also, we are a partner of the Green Climate Fund, and we are mobilizing resources from them. I would like to stress that now we have developed our strategy for the coming 4 years. There are 2 issues that are at the top of our agenda. The first one has to do with strategic ecosystems, where we have identified the Caribbean as one of them, and also blue economy. We have now a strategy on blue economy where we are identifying projects related, of course, with blue carbon, regenerative tourism, fisheries, restoration of coastal and marine ecosystems. And we are indeed working now very much in the problem of the sargassum. In fact, we have one project that we hope will be adopted shortly by the Green Climate Fund. I'm very interested in all the innovation you have stressed. We consider that there are many opportunities to work together with all the investors in the Caribbean countries. Our instruments are mostly technical cooperation. We devote resources for technical cooperation, not only for our members, but for all the Caribbean countries. And of course, we have credits, and we work with some preparation facilities to make possible that we can identify good projects that are good for the region. In this regard, I would like to stress that we are supporting very much a regional approach in our portfolio. Because we consider that, of course, the questions related with biodiversity and ecosystems must be addressed from a regional point of view. I will be happy to provide you with some examples of projects that we are developing in the region, but I just wanted to stress that we indeed want to be very active in the Caribbean region, particularly in the adaptation projects and in all the projects related with nature-based solutions related to blue economy, particularly, and regenerative tourism. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk, and I will be happy to provide you with more information. And it's a pleasure to talk with you again, Rachel.
Thank you. Cassandra, I'm going to ask you to come on now and give us an overview of what the Solar Venture specifically is doing in relation to nature-based solutions and funding projects within the Caribbean region.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, and good morning, everyone. I am getting over a bout of COVID, so that's what the kind of raspiness in my voice is.
Sure.
But I'm feeling well, and thank you for having me here today. Appreciate the time, and I found myself kind of like jotting down notes as folks were chatting, because I do feel that there's a lot of ability to connect and make sure that, we're staying connected and codifying the relationships here today. But my name is Cass, and I'm with Azola Ventures. We are a Cambridge, Massachusetts-based venture firm, and we invest in neglected startup opportunities that have the potential to mitigate or take big bites out of climate change. And we have three key things that we look for in companies when we're, attempting to make an investment. One is the ability to reach 0.5 gigaton of climate impact cumulatively by 2050. The second is we want to be sure that our investments are catalytic, or that our investment in a company is going to be additional. And essentially what that means is that we want to be able to bring in other investors into the round. We want to be the force that is going to bring in other investors that typically wouldn't be interested in that company for a variety of reasons. It could be that the timeline to development is too long. Our fund is a 15-year fund, and we have the ability to extend out to 19 years, where typical venture capital funds are typically looking for a return within 8 to 10 years. And the last is, and this is really key, is the ability to reach commercialization and to be able to be successful, because we truly feel that in order to reach the first goal of being able to reach 0.5 gigaton of impact by 2050, that the solution has to be commercially successful at scale. In order to be successful, you need to have a business model that makes sense and customers that are going to buy the technology, and in order to reach the 0.5 gigaton bar. And you might ask, what allows you the ability to be 15 years long? That's not a typical of an investor, of a venture investor. And that's because of our founders, Prime Coalition. We were born out of Prime Coalition, and we are actually the third investment vehicle out of Prime Coalition. And thankfully, we've been able to become larger and larger. Overall, we have about over $300 million under management. And that has been deployed into 32 investments to date. And we've really been able to support neglected startups that otherwise wouldn't get funding, or typically the first funding into a company, and funding at the pre-seed to Series A stage. But a majority of our investments are in that front end pre-seed to seed stage of a company. And the way that Prime allows us to enable that longer timescale is that Prime works with philanthropists and other mission-driven investors to bring in catalytic capital or philanthropic capital into the space. As of 2020, only 2% of global philanthropic capital has been channeled into climate change. So Prime's mission is to increase that number. And even though at 2%, it might seem small, but that's been an increase since Prime's start in 2014. So ultimately, we would love to get more philanthropic capital into the space to be able to support neglected opportunities, such as what we're doing at Azola. But as you might imagine, because we're focused on anything that can reduce carbon emissions, this really means we're touching lots of different spaces. So we have a variety of areas that we focus on. There's not necessarily one industry sector that we're focused on, but we do have the ability to be quite wide. We have a variety of investments, from nuclear fusion, for example, to a company that's doing using cold plasma to kill toxins and bacteria on fruits and vegetables to extend their lifetime, to a company that is trying to clean the air indoors using a device that you can attach onto the ventilation system. And the whole idea is that it will clean the air and also increase energy efficiency and therefore reduce the energy use in the building. So there's both a health play and an efficiency play. To a company, our most recent international investment actually, which is a new component of Azola Ventures, and Azola Ventures were able to invest internationally, which was not possible with our prior investment vehicles. So I'm very excited to announce that we have our first international investment based out of Mexico. So not yet in the Caribbean, which is something I would love for us to eventually get to, but we have the opportunity to invest up to a third of our portfolio internationally with Azola Ventures. And I would, I'm hearing, I was kind of writing down when Carlton was speaking, different companies that might be interesting to us from our investment mandate. But we do have the opportunity to invest internationally, and I'm here today to, maybe be a new face to folks who are in the audience. And, if there are ideas, I would love to hear about those. So hopefully we can get our first investment in the Caribbean.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And to all of our panelists, I look forward to your comments. Certainly as we move into our pitches. You'll find that many of the projects that we'll present today are very early stage, but certainly based on the breadth of support that you provide from your individual organizations and collectively, I certainly can see a very, relevant pipeline of financial support developing for our potential projects, including our project preparation facility and Mr. Carlton Burrell presented initially. So I think we'll move into that segment and certainly welcome your comments towards the end of the session as well, when you've had a chance to hear our pitches and better internalize what it is each of the projects is looking to do and what they're asking for. So thank you very much to our panelists so far, and I'm going to hand over now to our Director of Public Sector Projects, Ms. Isha Farnham, who's going to give an overview of some projects before moving into our pitches directly from our project holders. So thank you very much. Isha, you're on mute.
You would think that the amount of Zoom meetings that we're doing, but by now we would all remember to mute ourselves. But somehow, like this time,
yes.
I'm going to remember to unmute myself.
No, it continues to defeat us all.
It continues to defeat us all. But what has not been defeating is this conversation so far. And as the person who's responsible at the CCSA for the curation of our project pipeline, it really is incredibly heartening to see the opportunities that are available out there. And what I will do next is just do a brief overview, a cameo of a cross-section of the projects that we've curated coming out of our last call, But at CCSA, we're constantly seeking innovative projects. So we're looking at different thematic areas, renewable energy, climate smart agriculture, conservation, nature-based solutions, green job creation. And we look for projects that have an emphasis on climate justice, post-COVID recovery, livelihoods, ESG principles, gender and social inclusion, all aimed towards equitable, sustainable development. We do tend to cast a wide net simply because we believe that it is going to take a collective action from all of the sectors in order to be able to drive climate change, our climate change transition, and a climate resilient future in the region. And so we do have projects that are featured from NGOs, private sector entities, government entities, individuals, because again, this, moving us into a climate resilient space as a region is going to take collective action. Coming out of our last call for projects, and our last call for projects would have taken place, closed on August the 21st. We had 82 submissions, and this is not unusual. We generally tend to have very large amount of submissions coming out of our call for projects. Of that amount, we had 60 completed projects, and those projects span 14 of our member countries. The projects covered areas such as agriculture, circular economy, climate resilience, climate education, ecotourism, fisheries, green jobs, nature, conservation, potable water access, waste to energy, and renewable energy. In terms of the countries that we covered Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Barbados, Dominica, Haiti, Jamaica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, Belize, and a couple of others. We would have then gone through the process for the purpose of this investor forum of selecting 23 projects. And of those 23 projects, we're also including in this presentation 4 projects from Antigua, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, through our collaboration with GGI, which was mentioned previously, and their Eastern Caribbean Green Entrepreneurs Incubator Program. Coming out of our selection of the projects, it is noteworthy that we do have a number of for-profit as well as non-for-profit projects, and we are looking at matching some of these projects through our other matchmaking mechanisms, for example, the Financial Advisory Committee, and you could find out more about that on our website, as well as through our collaborative efforts with other investment activities. So, for example, we are submitting some of the projects to the upcoming 2023 edition of the Caribbean Investment Forum, that will be taking place in Bahamas in October, and that's being hosted by the Caribbean Export Development Agency in collaboration with the European Union, the government of Bahamas, and the CARICOM Secretariat. So, this is just one of our mechanisms that we use for matching projects, and we continue to match projects on an ad hoc basis as opportunities arise, and we also send our project stakeholders opportunities as they arise, and we see that there is a fit or a match. In terms of the value of projects, we would have seen that with the 23 projects that would have been selected from the call for projects, we have a value of projects in excess of 8 million. With the 4 GGI projects, we have a value of projects in excess of 30 million. And so together with the 27 projects, we have a value of projects in excess of US 41 million. I think what was particularly encouraging for us was the fact that so many of the projects really hit on the cross-cutting themes. And for me, what that cemented is that, food security, circular economy projects are really at the heart of our development as humans. There is no separation between looking after our most vulnerable populations and communities and food security and protecting our environment, but also creating jobs. So we were really encouraged and heartened by the number of female-led and women-focused initiatives as well as projects addressing the needs and providing support for marginalized populations, such as the differently abled, the LGBTQI community, and people who are affected by gender-based violence. 3 gaps, however, and I know, talking about the positive is always good, but we do need to also understand that we need to address certain gaps in the region. And I think I want to address this very small segment to our financiers, to our funders, to our investors, understanding that while there is an incredible amount of potential in the region, there are also gaps that have been identified as we've vetted more than 500 projects since we've come into existence as an organization. And there's been a consistent pattern in terms of what are the gaps. And so as funders, investors continue to build programs, to consider these gaps as they build their programs. And so the first would be data collection, science, and expertise. So, understanding the trends and patterns, establishing baseline and monitoring and evaluating impact, knowledge generation, policy development, etc. Just basic data collection in a lot of cases is missing. Our access to data. Project preparation, we see that there is a gap in terms of being able to see clear project concepts, objectives, feasibility studies, market analysis, detailed financial analysis, strong project team and governance structures, legal, regulatory compliance, communication and marketing strategy, exit strategy, due diligence support, etc. And then the final gap that we're seeing is fit for purpose financing. So meeting specific project needs, meeting the Caribbean projects where they are, optimizing those financial, the opportunities for financial sustainability, enhancing cost effectiveness, mitigating risks, and facilitating stakeholder engagement. And so as we, it has been, I like to jokingly say it has been my soapbox from since last year, kind of saying this is the type of the support that we need. Every time I have conversations with the relevant stakeholders saying this is the support that we need. We can't continue to say that Caribbean projects are not ready. We say, okay, they're not ready. There's a gap. How can we fill this gap? How can we get them to the next stage so that they are ready? And so that we could be the masters of our own development as we steer this climate space. And so just very quickly going through the projects. As I said, this is a cameo, and I want to make it very clear that at this point, there will be an investor package that is shared with the investors, and that has all of the details of the project. Some of the projects have preparatory information, and so that's not going to be shared in the public space. And so this is a cameo or a taster of what is available in the region for investment. And so coming out of Jamaica, we have the Smart and Sustainable Agriculture with Apiculture to Enhance Food Security project. And that project looks at climate change adaptation strategies in agriculture, promoting sustainable farming practices, water management, and apiculture. Also coming out of Dominica, we have a project called the Climate-Smart Agriculture Agribusiness Initiative to Slash Dominica's Food Import Bill. And that project is looking at empowering 10 farmers in Dominica through the implementation of a local supply chain for essential imported vegetables, as well as innovative agriculture practices using technologies such as rainwater harvesting, hydroponics, smart irrigation, renewable energy, precision harvesting through an agri-tech app, all with the goal of reducing food imports and regaining market share. Coming out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have the Sustainable Agriculture, Agro-Processing and Agro-Tourism Capacity Building of Communities, Farmers and Youth project. And that project looks at how the capabilities of farmers and communities can be built in terms of financial literacy and the implementation of climate smart practices in order to boost livelihoods, well-being, productivity, food security, and look at agro-processing and agro-tourism. Coming out of Bahamas, we have the Bahamas Limited Phase 1 project, and that project looks at sustainable, eco-friendly agriculture food production systems in Bahamas, fostering economic growth with local artisans, manufacturers, but also creating green jobs and diversifying the economy, enhancing food security with the addition of an FDA standard and approval, a sustainability certified food processing center, which would allow them to export to the US. The next project up is out of Barbados, and this one is the Ethnobotanical Eco Lab project. And this one is quite interesting. It's in collaboration with Peg Farm, and it's looking at a functional prototype for an eco lab, which is promoting sustainable, healthy living by transforming traditional foods into superfoods, involving comprehensive research and the development of indigenous local foods, which will include a medicinal herbal sanctuary that will be in St. John, Barbados. Also, we have the Tea Garden 758 Circular Farm, and that's out of St. Lucia. This farm will focus on, this project, sorry, is focusing on the introduction of circular farming techniques, which will include a greenhouse installation, mushroom growing, beekeeping, herb cultivation, and also looking at how they could reduce waste and chemical pollutants while supplying the Tea Garden herbal tea processing plant, which they're also preparing for export. This model is scalable, but also provides opportunities for vulnerable women in St. Lucia. There is Regal Farms. Regal Farms, also out of St. Lucia, is a startup that is looking at implementing climate control greenhouses for an aeroponic system and an aquaponic system in various schools, but also in the women's unit at the local correctional facility. Coming out of Jamaica, we have empowering communities for sustainable change using containerized farming and microgrids. And this project looks at how, areas that are prone to electricity theft in Jamaica can sustainably have their own power supply, and looking at how a renewable energy system can be attached to as an off-grid system to containerized farming. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have indoor climate resilient and sustainable agriculture. And this one looks at indoor aquaponics in the rural area of Point Fortin, looking at also doing domestic crops, short-term domestic crops such as peppers, celery, chive, etc., and looking at how these can not only supply the local market, but also export to the rest of CARICOM. And of course, all being done organically without the use of chemicals, herbicides, and toxic fertilizers. The Vetiver Farms project, also coming out of St. Lucia. This project is quite innovative in that it is using what we call green engineering. So it is looking at the use of vetiver grass as a green engineering tool that would enhance land management, agricultural productivity, climate resilience for the communities that they are working in across St. Lucia. But this model is also quite scalable, and there are other examples of projects using vetiver grass, which is not necessarily a technology in the traditional sense, but it is really effective in being able to protect land and sustainable land management. Rum and Sorghasm, coming out of Barbados, quite a popular project, but they're looking at, it's a Barbados-based biofuel company born out of research that was conducted right here in the Caribbean at the University of the West Indies. And it's creating transportation fuel from local waste sources like the rum distillery, but also sorghum seaweed. And they have already received small amount of funding for their research, and they are looking at scaling their projects. Then we have honeybees coming out of Jamaica, and I see Cheryl has come up on screen, so I'm running to time, but good news, many of the project stakeholders that I'm featuring right now, you will be hearing from them shortly. So I'm going to close off on this last one, Honeybees Apiary. Honeybees is out of Jamaica, and they are a social enterprise addressing how they can convert vacant lots to in local communities, empowering youths, creating jobs, but using very sophisticated technology in terms of seeing to the health of the hive. And so I'm going to hand over to Cheryl now so that we can hear directly from the project stakeholders in their project pitches what their projects are about.
Thank you so much for that overview, Keisha. We'll now introduce our projects. They will follow in sequence. We have 9 presentations from our project leaders who will be providing our investors and our audience with an overview of their projects, how their projects deliver impact, their funding needs, and how the funding will support the delivery of support and impact for their stakeholders.
Sorry, there's no volume. The audio, I should say.
With the many local and global triggers impacting the food production, supply chains, and food prices, the Caribbean needs a more secure food production system. The United Nations and CARICOM have stated that nearly 57% of the Caribbean population now face food insecurity. Like many Caribbean countries, the Bahamas imports more than 98% of its food. This, along with climate change-related disasters, have made our agricultural sector more vulnerable and even more reliant on imported goods. Being producers ourselves, we've realized that many local businesses and manufacturers lack the production space, access to raw materials, and sometimes even the knowledge to take their products to market. Faced with the challenge of wanting to bolster local food security, yet lacking the resources, Grow the Food Lab was born. This project provides the technology, the working framework required to increase local food production and processing, therefore opening new economic markets, helping develop a skilled workforce, and also strengthening food security. The secret is, Grow the Food Lab is a franchisable solution. We aim to establish an innovative shared processing facility that allows food creators to reduce their overhead costs and barriers to entry. In the Bahamas, our competition is limited. The local facilities operate with minimal equipment that could only facilitate one processor at any given time. These government facilities, while they offer training and amenities, they also lack the proper equipment, innovation, and also resources needed for entrepreneurs to scale their businesses. However, our approach at Grow the Food Lab allows for multiple shared spaces for creation and collaboration in a food-safe, regulated environment. We've invested in the creation of our brand, our website, along with research and training. Our current marketing strategy entails engaging our market through social media, trade shows, food festivals, and various strategic partnerships with food regulating agencies. From the inception of our launch, we've had potential clients reach out with the interest of our facilities and currently receive daily requests from food processors interested in scaling up their recipe for wider distribution. My business partner, Regina, and I are both agro-processors. She manufactures locally grown spices and seasonings, and myself, gourmet fruit popsicles, utilizing local fruits. Both of us faced similar challenges and roadblocks when it came to scaling our businesses and exporting products. We learned so many different lessons along the way, whether it was Regina potentially having all of her products seized by US Customs due to non-compliance, or myself standing in my mom's kitchen, and having an international buyer request more than 121,000 cases of popsicles and not having the capital to scale up. We firsthand understand the market. We understand what is needed to take locally produced products to the market. With years of experience, not only have we faced the challenges, we've created the innovative solution to be able to build a network of key advisors who serve on our women-led board and continue to expand our database to ensure that we have the right talent and skills on our team. With multiple revenue streams highlighting the rental of our kitchens, training sessions, various consultations and cruise ship tours, we are currently seeking the grant funding of $620,000 for the first phase of our startup project. This includes outfitting our facility, administrative fees, and the launch of our exciting new incubator program for agro-processors, culinary artisans, and young people. To date, we've engaged the private and also the public sectors to form strategic partnerships with various organizations, including the University of Virginia and FAMU, to establish our initial framework. We also have our industrial partner who has granted us the use of a 2,000 square foot facility for our first phase of our project. Phase 2, the future, our plan is to seek equity funding, explore export opportunities, franchising, and also private labeling and more. We're excited to announce that we were just awarded 3 acres of land from the Ministry of Agriculture for the expansion of phase 2. What was once from farm to table has now become seed to sustainability. We invite you to grow with us on this food innovation journey.
Hi, I'm Gordon Shaw, founder and CEO of The Plant Doctor. We specialize in the manufacturing of natural and organic fertilizers and pesticides by using the waste byproduct of agro-processors and waste from the fish market to provide farmers and gardeners with a reliable supply that guarantees safety and results. We are passionate about ensuring that farmers and gardeners are able to grow food reliably and safely without chemical harm to themselves, the environment, and consumers. Thus, we are focused on sustainability in producing our line of products by using a regenerative agricultural approach. We partner with local businesses such as bakeries, plant and chip companies, and other processors to produce our line of products whilst reducing waste going to the landfill. Additionally, this helps to provide much needed employment and livelihood to youth. Responding to the COVID pandemic, we were fortunate to provide some farmers with a reliable natural alternative fertilizer and biopesticides to keep them growing. Now, our products are available in 5 major retail outlets across the country. In phase 2 of our business, we plan to duplicate the composting and potting soil part of our business throughout other OACS countries, starting with St. Lucia and Grenada, to help their farmers and their youth and environment. We will also be exporting the other products that we offer, such as our biopesticides, biofertilizers, and organic calcium to other countries across the region. To make phase 2 of this expansion possible and other phases of our business, we are inviting you to invest in our business, seeking a sum of $780,000 to make this possible. We look forward to hearing from you positively, and we can be contacted by email at theplantdoctorglobal@gmail.com. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mitra Kazaba, founder of Narrowway Life here in St. Lucia. We make sustainable living simple. In a world where climate change affects us all and poorer, more vulnerable nations are the hardest hit, there are no built-in sustainable homes to purchase in St. Lucia. Persons are concerned about their food security due to food shortages and a looming recession. With a fruit and vegetable import bill of 79 million in 2022, I can understand why persons are uneasy. Renewable solutions are fragmented between many suppliers, leaving customers to sort through the many to find which one best suits them. And that's where we come in. A solution that provides a one-stop shop for all sustainable needs. We provide consultations and property assessment to understand exactly where clients are in their sustainable journey and to recommend the services that would best suit them to where they want to be. We also have move-in ready sustainable homes equipped with low maintenance trees, backyard garden, solar, rain harvesting system, and also a biodigestive system. By doing this, we put food, water, security in our clients' hands where they can make the most of it. At present, the world is racing against the clock to become more sustainable. The sustainability market is at $16.5 billion as of 2023, and it's expected to increase to 62 billion in 2030, exhibiting a compound annual growth rate of 20.8%. Living green isn't just a trendy thing for us. I, Mitra Casabo, and my co-founder and husband, Lincoln Casabo, has lived for over 8 years off-grid, living sustainably, building our sustainable home. To date, we have no electricity or water bills. Additionally, I have over 5 years experience working in accounts and 4 years operations management, while my co-founder and husband has over 20 years experience in all areas of construction, from concept to finish, making him ideal for leading our sustainable housing project. We had 500 registrants at our Country Living Seminar in 2021, 60% of which were from the US and the UK diaspora. Also in 2021, we located a suitable 15-acre lot, proposed the subdivisions, and gave the opportunities for acquiring to families interested in developing off-grid homes. By the end of 2023, we would like to develop at least 3 sustainable home models on our 3-acre property, so clients can come over and experience how the sustainable lifestyle feels, so that they can choose. So let me just explain what the last part is. They want to implement on their properties. To myself so it makes sense. By 2026, the project meets 6 of the sustainable 17 homes sustainable goals and 1 sustainable apartment building. This is why we request $575,000 US dollars, okay, preferably in grant. Okay, I'll do. Okay, I've got it. Sorry about that. Building materials.
Okay, go ahead.
The project meets 6 of the 17 sustainable goals. Number 2, to end hunger, providing the fruit trees for homeowners to have an opportunity to take control of their food security. Number 6, the water and sanitation. Our rain harvesting system provides drinkable water to each home. Energy, we are going to be using solar and wind energy on the homes to provide power. Number 9, industry, affordable, sustainable homes, yet resilient to resist climate change disasters. Number 11, sustainable cities. We want to develop in 2026 the sustainable apartment building to make sustainable living more affordable to St. Lucians. Number 12, ensure sustainable consumption. This property incorporates biodegradable waste and also educates persons on the lifestyle in harmony with nature. So, together, let us build a more sustainable community, one housing project at a time.
Dominica, the Caribbean's nature gem, is affectionately known as the nature island of the Caribbean. And for those of us in the diaspora, it's a place where our hearts find deep solace and a desire to give back and contribute to its growth. In the tumultuous year of 2020, as the global economy faced unprecedented challenges, I turned my gaze towards Dominica's import and export statistics. What I uncovered was a significant opportunity gap within the agricultural sector. Year after year, the data revealed a concerning trend. Imports of select crops were increasing as much as by 20% per annum. Recognizing that Dominica's agriculture is the lifeblood of the nation, I had to delve deeper and gain first-hand insights as to how we could address this growing import bill. In 2021, my journey led me to the island I hold dear. I registered as a farmer and a local exporter, which is known as a huckster, and I gave birth to the business idea of 29 Miles. My vision was very clear: to disrupt, diversify, and develop Dominica's agriculture sector. Armed with the data analysis, I immersed myself into the world of vegetable and fruit farming. Through conversations with farmers and my own experiences, a common narrative emerged. Farmers face significant challenges beyond their control, not limited to access to finance, stiff competition from importers, access to renewable and reliable energy and water, and most crucially, they will tell you that they don't have an access to a reliable market. Drawing upon my background as a business analyst specializing in strategy, operations, and marketing, paired with a robust academic background with a Bachelor of Honors in Marketing and Advertising with a Master's in Law, I crafted the vision of 29 Miles. It became abundantly clear that farmers needed strategic guidance as to how they could overcome the hurdles that they are currently facing, as well as a strategic plan as to how they could tap into this untapped potential within the agricultural sector. Farmers were losing their grip on the local market, surrendering precious market share to importers who have an established supply chain. On the other hand, I was able to accumulate sales of 10,000 EC dollars in 90 days for select fewer farmers. This brought justification that there is a need for a local supply chain. As the heads of government within the CARICOM community pledged to reduce the local food import bill by 25% by 2025, Project Grow Local is the opportune initiative to spearhead this transformative change. The time has come to disrupt, diversify, and develop Dominica's agriculture sector through Project Grow Local. With an investment requirement of $389,660.80 this project can slash the food import bill by a staggering 192,000 pounds of vegetables per annum, all by employing a climate-smart agricultural operational model. This strategic approach encompasses of carefully selected crop varieties, sustainable water management through rainwater harvesting, renewable energy adoption, hydroponics for maximum yield on limited farmland, and an agri-tech app for precision harvesting. It represents the ultimate supply chain operational model, all by using climate-smart agricultural practices. Project Grow Local also aligns perfectly and seamlessly with the Caribbean's 30 by 30 vision to reduce external shocks and sustainable development. I am Abigail Shillinford, founder of 29 Miles, an agribusiness management consultancy, and I want to express deep gratitude. Thank you very much for accepting Project Grow Local. And to you, the investors and funders, I wholeheartedly invite you to join me as partners in scripting a narrative of disruption, diversification, and development towards Dominica's agriculture sector. Together, we can cultivate a brighter, more sustainable, self-reliant future. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Robinson Luzard. I am the Deputy Coordinator of MIEF. MIEF, which is Mouvement pour l'intégration et émancipation des femmes handicapées in French, which is literally in English, the Movement for Integration and Empowerment of Disabled Women. And this organization was founded in 2019 by Madame Marie-Regine Tessa-Dieg, and it aims to defend the rights of disabled women and facilitate their social, educational, and professional and cultural development. And MIEF also focuses on training and integrating disabled women, promoting literacy for those who have not had the access to education, and establishing partnerships for its development. And currently, the movement actively engages in initiatives to create a cleaner, healthier, and more cohesive community by raising awareness about hygiene and the environment, while also strengthening on social norms to foster inclusivity. The project that we're presenting today is empowering food security and environmental resilience through local gardens and reforestation initiatives in northern Haiti. Imagine a Haiti where communities flourish in harmony with nature, where reforestation isn't just a dream, but a thriving reality. Amid enduring decades-long series of social, political, and economic crises, Haiti grapples with challenges that have thrust a significant portion of its populations below the poverty threshold. Nowhere is this more evident than in the evicted communities where individuals and families are left with virtually nothing, struggling to secure their most basic needs. And the problems in market-wise, in Haiti right now, especially in North Department, especially in the communities of Cap-Haïtien, Plaine du Nord, Milo, Limonade, this is the targeted environment. Environmental challenges have left those communities vulnerable to climate change, food insecurity, and inequality rampant. Deforestation has eroded arable land, disrupted water source, and endangered livelihoods. Our solutions is a comprehensive 2 years project, a holistic approach that synergizes with frustrations with local gardens, creating a sustainable circle of renewal. The year one, we restore degraded areas with native trees, mitigating climate impacts and rejuvenated ecosystems. Local gardens diversify food sources, boosting food security and empowering marginalized groups, and particularly women and displaced families due to the increasing of violence of gangs. We provide climate-smart agriculture training and establish demonstration plots for sustainable farming practices. In the year two, we continue with restoration's effort and expand the reach of local gardens. We strengthen climate resilience livelihood by introducing drought-resistant crop varieties and irrigation systems. We emphasize on gender and inclusion, social inclusion, conducting gender-sensitive workshops, and ensuring women active participation in decision-making process related to agricultural and environmental management. We seek an investment of $1 million over 2 years to execute our project plan and ensure long-term sustainability. Our revenue strategy includes generating income through the sales of surplus agricultural products from local gardens and the adoption of sustainable farming practices. Our project stands out by incorporating the traditional Laku concept, which is total Haitian, fostering unity and collaborations within communities. We prioritize inclusivity, climate resilience, and education, positioning ourselves as leaders in the reforestations and agricultural sectors. Our outreach includes community sensitizations, workshops, and educational campaigns. We aim to engage with local leaders, other CSOs in the targeted areas, and governmental bodies to expand our project and secure additional resources. Our diverse team comprises experienced project managers, agricultural specialists, community facilitator, gender expert. We have a deep understanding of Haiti's unique challenges and opportunity. Our comprehensive roadmap outlines 2 years of activities. First year, project launch of communities engagement, baseline surveys and assessment, training in climate-smart agricultural practices, and last, reforestations and establishments of local gardens. And then year two, continue reforestations and garden expansions, strengthening climate resilience livelihood, and gender and social inclusion initiative, post-project sustainability planning. So here are our invitation to you. Join us in transforming Haiti's future, greener, more resilient, and empowered. Let's make the local garden and reforestations blueprint for sustainable change, not just in the North Department in Haiti, but also in the 9 other departments. Together, we can turn this vision into reality. Together, we can make Haiti a place where communities flourish in harmony with nature, where reforestation is not just a dream, but a thriving reality. Thank you for your time, and we invite you to reach out to discuss partnerships, opportunity, support, and how can be part of this transformative 2-year journey. Let's create a brighter and more sustainable future for Haiti. Thank you.
Present day, I'm Christopher Chinapu, and I represent the Jamaica Society for the Blind. Our project, Electrify for Sight project, is an electrification project that will be facilitated at the Jamaica Society for the Blind. It's a solar-powered aquaponic greenhouse. Basically, the mission of the Jamaica Society for the Blind is to promote eye health education and prevent avoidable blindness and vision impairment, while advancing the well-being of persons who are blind and partially sighted throughout the Jamaica through the provision of training programs, empowerment programs. We provide advocacy services, we provide counseling, treatment and support, and adjustment to blindness. One of the areas that we are targeting and focusing on is providing jobs and economic empowerment for the members of the Jamaica Society for the Blind. Of course, this is aligned to well-being. But while we are also seeking to address the issue of well-being, sustainable livelihoods becomes a critical and important aspect of what we are doing. Today, in Jamaica, we are faced with rising cost of energy, rising food prices, again, exacerbated by climate change and other environmental impacts. There's increasing poverty and hardships among blind and partially sighted persons. And of course, everyone on this platform can also recognize the effects of the extreme heat that we have been facing and drought conditions. There's a growing need for these services at the Jamaica Society for the Blind. So of course, I've contextualized the problem in relation to increasing energy bills, rising food prices, growing in food insecurity for blind and partially sighted persons, and of course, the ableist culture and mindset that is pervasive within the society. Those that don't recognize that blind, partially sighted persons and their families can also do regular and normal activities, be it within the green economy and also within agriculture and food security areas, especially with relation to aquaponics and by integrating the use of AI and other technologies that will help to support and facilitate the effective participation of blind and partially sighted persons and their families in the execution of this project. So the solution essentially will electrify the Jamaica Society for the Blind, install solar power, 10 kilowatt solar power, sufficient to upkeep these services, not only of the Jamaica Society for the Blind, establish a solar-powered aquaponic greenhouse and shade house project, which will grow food that will also support the hunger relief programs of the Jamaica Society for the Blind, but also provide commercial activity that will provide jobs in a social enterprise format, generate revenues that will help to support and offset the expenses of the Jamaica Society for the Blind. The Jamaica Society for the Blind, I remind persons, have been established since 1954 and has been consistently and is the premier provider of all services towards the blind and partially sighted persons. We are members of the World Blind Union and the national representative for the World Blind Union in Jamaica. These programs will also, the financing that we are asking for will also equip the facilities with accessibility tools, sensors, and specialty devices, and establish cold storage for preserving our products, and also provide and establish facilities for the agro-processing and facilitating the efficient production and processing and preservation of the produce that is actually grown. We are seeking in this project $175,000 US to help to facilitate this transformative action. This program is not only a program in terms of that will benefit in terms of electrification and sustainability, but will actually impact on the quality of lives and improve the livelihoods of many individuals, over 400 members of the Jamaica Society for the Blind. The purpose, essentially, as I remind persons, is to accelerate the energy transition to renewables. It will accelerate the decarbonization of the Jamaica Society for the Blind. It will reduce our emissions, while also at the same time providing sustainable livelihood and urban agricultural practices that will also be used as a platform to raise awareness, to train other individuals in sustainable agriculture practices. Our process, as I mentioned before, is to install the solar PVs, establish the solar-powered aquaponic shade house, with the result, hopefully, of reducing our energy bills, reducing our greenhouse gas emissions and footprint, improve food security and nutrition, and improve the quality of life for our members. This is our proposal, and I hope it resounds well with several of the investors at this platform. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nick Metropolis. I am a hydroponics advisor for Lend a Hand Bahamas for the Building Resiliency and Food Security Hydroponics Project in the Bahamas. The organization was founded in 2014, and it's a locally based Bahamian nonprofit organization in Nassau with some reach into Abaco and Grand Bahama. The programs are running every day for after-school programs, weekends for children, and some other programs using 4-H principles and teachings. During Hurricane Dorian, the organization really focused on a massive feeding and emergency effort in Nassau and supporting the Family Islands, which supported tens of thousands of families. More recently, the organization has launched a pilot program for hydroponics, and this project is really focused on expanding the opportunity there. The reason why this is such an important project is because this project leads to resiliency in the community and the creation of local farms so that the island does not need to import all the produce into the community. And also another reason why this is important is because it promotes healthy diets and supports low-income communities while creating jobs also for those communities. The local crops that will be grown are larger leafy greens like lettuce and kale to the community members, and along with microgreens, which they will then sell to local restaurants and hotel as a revenue generating aspect for this model. And hydroponic farming in general is beneficial to the environment. It uses less water and less square footage compared to traditional agriculture. And again, the islands in general will not need to import as much produce as Lend a Hand Bahamas will be providing most of the produce on the island. The opportunity again is the Bahamas is a large constituency of over 700 islands. And again, the produce is mostly imported, and there's a huge financial contribution associated with that versus growing it locally will enable us to establish our own produce supply chain in the Bahamas and allow us to supplement those imports by producing fresh produce for the local community. Additionally, we'll be able to educate more children and address some of the poverty associated in our community. And essentially, Lend a Hand Bahamas is poised to make a huge difference through this aquaponics program. In the location, there's a few locations that we have in mind in the middle of the city near Grantstown and Bainstown to drop this grow pod, we call it. It's a 40-foot grow pod. And in general, the benefits of hydroponics are higher yields, more food production, water conservation, less disease, and also a year-round growing climate. The project timeline in January 2024, we plan to have 2 grow pods growing at full capacity. February 2024, we're going to launch a workforce development initiative. And January 2025, we plan to add a 3rd grow pod container to increase our production output. Annually, we'll be able to provide 15,000 meals in 2024 and then 25,000 meals in 2025. And from a revenue generating perspective, we'll be able to bring in around $54,000 in 2024 and $92,000 in 2025. And we'll be able to provide over 31,000 meals throughout those 2 years. Overall, we're seeking $600,000, $300,000 over those 2 years. And we'll be working to garner additional local, corporate, and individual support to sustain this operation. Thank you all again for this opportunity.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Nathan Lee, and I'm the Business Development Manager and Special Projects Coordinator here at Greening the Caribbean. And this is our pitch for the Caribbean Climate-Smart Accelerator Investor Forum 7. And so let's jump right in. What's the problem? So there's an absence of integrated solid waste management infrastructure to the private sector as well as households. And this is a leading facet of the environmental and waste crisis that we face in the Caribbean. And this is caused in part due to minimal legislation, and for what regulations are in place, they're rarely enforced. So proper waste disposal is a choice rather than a requirement. And so all of this leads to recyclables and non-recyclables being commingled and dumped in Caribbean landfills, which is a major contributor to pollution. And as we know, space is no luxury for the Caribbean, especially small island developing states, which is why this poses a particularly unique challenge in this region. In the pitch deck, I included 2 quotes from articles that speak to the current landscape and that I think are very important. And the first one speaks to the fact that the Caribbean is a leader in plastic pollution per capita. And in fact, St. Lucia, where we operate, is responsible for 4 times more plastic waste per person than China, which is the world's biggest plastic polluter in absolute terms. And so that's concerning, you know, considering the prominence of the blue economy in the region, and much of this pollution issue can be attributed to poor waste management. And secondly, another excerpt is that a Nielsen survey shows that millennials and Gen Z are becoming more inclined to make consumer decisions based on a business's environmental impact. And so proper waste management is some of the lowest hanging fruit for businesses which operate in a tourism-based economy, which rely on maintaining that global competitive advantage. So what's our solution? Here at Green in the Caribbean, we are an environmental management business that establishes waste management and recycling service solutions. So what that means is that we provide workplace recycling programs, provide waste diversion trainings, provide recycling education, and we collect, transport, and process recyclables, which I'll explain a little bit more in a moment. And our mission is to reduce the amount of recyclables dumped in Caribbean landfills by our clients and partners, and to reduce public littering using best available techniques and practices. And so how do we do that? We do it through a few primary services. This includes waste management, recycling services, and consulting. So in terms of waste management, we design and set up environmentally sound waste to landfill minimization, which captures recyclables at the source. We transport garbage and non-recyclables to the government authorized landfill, and then we collect, transport, and pre-process e-waste, cardboard, aluminum cans, PET1, HDP plastics, and we disassemble and demanufacture waste electrical and electrical equipment, end-of-life mechanical equipment, etc. And in terms of consulting, we provide waste management assessments, environmental awareness trainings, and our environmental management consulting adds value for our clients, such as linking all of their public-facing sustainability initiatives to all of their internal sustainability initiatives across their business, and enabling them to institutionalize their sustainability practices to fuse it to their company culture, which speaks to them helping adhere to, you know, that competitive advantage in today's marketplace. And so what's our competitive advantage? Well, for one, Green in the Caribbean is a leader in the space. We're a thought leader in environmental management consulting and service delivery. We are an international award-winning firm, and we have multiple high-value contracts in the pipeline, both waste management and special projects. We simply need to build our capacity in order to satisfy them. And our innovative business model captures recyclables at the source. And we are the only waste management company in St. Lucia, and to our knowledge, throughout the OECS, that manages all solid waste streams. And so why is it that I believe, or we believe, that the work we do is the solution to the problem I mentioned earlier? So the work we do is impactful in a number of ways. Our business contributes to 11 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. However, there's 6 I chose to include in the executive summary and pitch deck because they're the ones that I believe we have the most impact on. And then in terms of key performance indicators, we've learned through our work that the ways of measuring success for an environmental management social entrepreneurship venture over a 1 to 5 year period is very different than a traditional business. And so in looking at our key performance indicators, our intention is to try and bridge that gap of understanding and success impact into that context. And so our key performance indicators include overall improved environmental outcomes, the number of contractual clients, as that has a direct correlation to measurable environmental outcomes, tons of recyclables diverted from landfill, amount of recyclables exported, and types of recyclables exported, as well as number of green jobs created locally. And lastly, our investment. We are seeking $2 million for investment into acquiring equipment, increasing our efficiency, and building our capacity to serve more clients and expand to other small island developing states. By purchasing the necessary equipment, we're able to increase our efficiency and build our capacity in transporting, loading, and pre-processing materials for export. And as I said, more clients equals more measurable environmental outcomes, positive environmental outcomes. And so we need the capacity in order to support more clients. And so as well, it enables us to diversify our types of exports and also replicating the model on other English-speaking islands, which is part of what we set out to do from the beginning. And so lastly, should legislation in the region change, we are positioned particularly well to also meet the needs of both the private and residential sector. Thank you.
Our project, Strengthening the Economic Capacity of Gender-Based Violence Victims Create Livelihoods, includes the training and capacity building of 60 women. 40 of them will be trained to run and manage the agro-processing facility, while 20 of them will receive small grants so that they can start businesses which will create inputs for the agro-processing facility. Over the last 2 years, we have completed the capacity building component of this project, and now we are at the stage where we are preparing to start the physical part of the project, which includes the construction of the agro-processing facility, the inclusion of rainwater harvesting, solar power energy systems, a training facility, and a research and development lab to ensure that our formularies remains consistent and in keeping with international standards. We are also looking at this as the first phase of this project. The second phase of the project will include components which includes a micro cooperative for women, because as we know, a number of women has lost their ability to have savings accounts or have access to financial product because of demand from international financial organizations, which requires more and more accountability and transparency. And we know vulnerable populations, especially women, do not have the capacity to have a lot of money in the bank, so they are losing their bank accounts. This project will see the establishment of an advanced and green facility. It is also going to facilitate people who are not part of the project, but who are involved in agro-processing. They can use the facility to process, to package, and to create their own line of goods, because we believe that the facility will be better utilized if it's open to persons who are into the agro-processing field. This project, the outcomes of this project is supposed to create better livelihoods for the participants, utilize the abundance of fruits and vegetables that we have in St. Lucia going to waste yearly, create sustainable livelihoods because we are using locally grown fruits and vegetables. We are not importing the inputs for this thing. It's supposed to improve the quality of life of participants and other people who are going to be benefiting from this project, because the women and girls that we work with are marginalized in every way, economically, emotionally, financially. And this project is supposed to provide, in the first instance, these 60 women with a better life, better living conditions, that they can send their children to school. They can walk away from emotionally, physically, psychologically abusive relationship. They can take care of their parents if they have to, and that they can be contributing members of society.
Our planet and its people are under severe stress. Some stresses include climate variability and climate shocks, geopolitical conflict, and issues within the logistics of our global food supply chains. These are having a degenerative impact on our fisheries sector and our oceans industry, nationally, regionally, as well as globally. And some of the contributing factors include unsustainable fishing practices, marine biodiversity and habitat loss, warming and acidification of our oceans, as well as plastic and chemical pollution. So how do we address global market demand for our fisheries commodities in an environment where our oceans are under such stresses? Aquaculture, mariculture, and polyculture are adaptation mechanisms that can assist us in this respect. UNCTAD, in a 2017 report, has stated that the global oceans economy market has a cap of $373 billion US. And to that extent, Export Barbados is attempting to target about 10% of that market to the tune of $37 billion over the course of the next 10 to 15 years through structured project development in the areas such as marine and aquaculture sectors, seafood processing, marine and coastal ecotourism, as well as marine research and design, as well as ocean mining. Our local fisheries sector is also under price volatility, and this has been identified via a research project that Export Barbados conducted, where we have seen changes in the price of our fish commodities in the ranges of 80 to 100% over the last 6 years. So the solution to these problems would be for Barbados to embark upon a mission to create our own fish commodities, thereby addressing SDG number 2, where we are feeding ourselves for a fraction of the cost that we pay to import some of the food commodities that are necessary for our people. Aquaculture, in its solution, has an advantage and a benefit that it has a very low carbon footprint compared to other meat and fish producing industries. It can assist in the reduction of our importation expenses nationally and for private entities in the ocean industry, provide skilled and innovative jobs in the aquaculture and mariculture sector. It can contribute to coastal fisheries regeneration via the reintroduction of species that may have been lost from our coastal environment over the last 10, 15, or 20 years. And it can also address gender inequality, as we know that women play a significant role in the fisheries sector. Thereby, we'll be creating greater economic value for our sisters working in the fisheries industry. Barbados has available to it 70,000 square miles of ocean space via its exclusive economic zone, compared to just 166 square miles of land-based resources. So we must develop ways that we can harness sustainably and develop from an economic standpoint, utilizing the resources in our oceans economy. And that's why Export Barbados has embarked upon this mission to create value within our oceans economy space, one of our 3 strategic pillars. On success, Barbados will have pioneered the first open ocean aquaculture farm at the scale and with the technological advancement that is under the scope and target of Export Barbados. So we are seeking, once we get into full scalable operations, fish producing capacity of between 50,000 tons and 75,000 tons annually. At present, within Latin America and the Caribbean is contributing only 36,000 tons of fish via aquaculture, whereby the total contribution to the global market from Latin America and Caribbean stands at 2.9 million tons. So we're just 0.3% contributing to fisheries from aquaculture within our region. So there is obvious and clear opportunity for development in this specific industry. Key stakeholders and key experts on our team include the Director of the Fisheries Division, the Director of the Coastal Zone Management Unit, CEO of Export Barbados, as well as the Ocean Industry Manager, Miss Christina Adams, she's an aquaculture specialist on island, and of course our principal partners at the University of Miami, Dr. John Stieglitz and Mr. Ron Koenig. The pilot project exit data will be fed into our business forecasting, whereby we'll be able to accurately represent elements such as our feed conversion rates, where we are attempting to move the fish from farm to table, so that we have a clear representation of what it costs to hatch, farm, raise, and harvest fish for sectors such as hospitality, restaurants, retail, wholesale, at the price points which will make the business venture attractive for investors. To date, we have completed and signed our letter of agreement between Export Barbados and University of Miami. Our MOU is in draft, and we have planned meetings with key stakeholders in the oceans economy space for aquaculture, such as InnovaSea and Sea Ray, at the end of September. The aim of the pilot project, from a species standpoint, is to produce between 500 kilograms and 750 kilograms of fish per growth cycle. So we're attempting to feed the pilot data into a scale operation, and we have the capability and capacity to change the species that we will be conducting research around, depending on the market demands or depending on what is necessary from an environmental aspect, whereby we may need to reintroduce certain species that would have been lost due to some of the factors mentioned earlier. Our funding ask for the pilot project is $3 million, and we've allocated that spend in the following areas: site development, $540,000, equipment procurement, $415,000, operational expenses, $370,000, commercialization expansion, $1.5 million, with management reserve set at $175,000. Again, our main and principal partner in this initiative is the University of Miami Rosenthal School for Marine Atmospheric Science, as they have a wealth of information in aquaculture research, as well as industrial expansion and entrance into operations at a scalable targets. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our project presenters this morning for sharing information on their projects with our investors and our audience. It was really refreshing to hear the amazing range of solutions that have been put forward under the umbrella of climate smart solutions and nature-based solutions towards climate action. We are close to the end of our session. We have just about 2 minutes left, and I'll invite our CEO, Raquel Moses, to give her closing comments for the session this morning. Thank you, Raquel.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. And I just really wanted to say how inspiring were those entrepreneurs and their solutions and how exciting. And I really wanted more than anything else to thank the team, to thank Cheryl and Keisha and Janelle and everyone behind the scenes that helped to make this an excellent investor forum. I want to thank our investors for coming on and sharing their investment priorities, and so much all of our collaborators. We really appreciated it. And I hope you leave here feeling inspired by the level of solutions that we have available across the region and the opportunities for investment, as well as the opportunities for new entrepreneurs to get into the space of creating climate smart solutions that we can then match with investors. So that was all I had to share. I wanted to make sure and thank the team. And I think if there are any questions or comments, please engage with us on our social media. That'd be the best place to share any questions, and we'll make sure we get your questions answered. If you want to be connected with any of the entrepreneurs or the investors, reach out to us, and we'll be happy to make those connections where appropriate. So with that, I think we are just at time. And I want to say thank you and see you at the next Investor Forum.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.